Hello, everyone. I'm Catherine Gregory, co-founder of Modern Wisdom Press. And today I am happy to introduce you to author Michael Bush. Michael, welcome to Modern Wisdom Moments.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it's an exciting moment for you because you just published your first book. And can you tell us, maybe you have it, you can hold it up and tell us the title.
I do have it. It's off the proof. So it's called Guardrailing, Authentically Guiding Your Natural Products Company from Spark to Sale. And it really is a simplified way to look at building value and making decisions in a business. I wrote it with a focus on the natural products industry because that's the industry I participate in mainly. And it's more of a tribute to the industry than it is, a how-to for people in that industry. But it really is, it takes the kind of the guesswork out of planning a business from start to finish. And when I say finish, that is, this is geared more towards building businesses that will ultimately be sold or that will go public or some sort of exit. So it's focused primarily towards investor-backed companies, which most are these days that have a successful run and an exit. But it talks about finding the destination first, and then focusing on that destination and being able to make decisions as you go along the way to make sure that all the decisions you make create value to drive you towards that destination. And along the way, you measure those questions and those decisions by their inherent goodness. And so, is it doing good for the world? Is it doing good for your shareholders? Is it doing good for the families of your employees and your customers? And if you can answer, yes, it's getting us closer to our destination, and yes, it's a good decision, then it's a decision that should be made, and we'll get you closer to your destination. And then there's others that will certainly take you off course, and you'll veer right off of the cliff, and if you ignore the guardrails.
I love that you simplify the process for the reader, and you just did. You make it sound so simple, and I know it's not a simple process based on your own story. And I think you're perfectly qualified to write this book because of the massive success you've had in the natural products industry, but selling a growing and selling a multi-million-dollar probiotics company. So can you just tell us a bit about what that experience was like and how it inspired you, to write the book From Spark to Sale?
So the last company that we sold was the seventh company I was part of the sale of. And so I've always been focused on, doing things to generate value so that we have, maximum exit value for our investors. The last company was a very good success for us. We started an ingredient division of a probiotic company that was primarily a CPG business. They had a brand that was in the market. They came to me and talked to me about, what else can we do with this business? And we decided to start an ingredient business based on their proprietary probiotic. And along the way, I was given basically complete autonomy to build the business and shape the business the way that I saw fit. And so I used the practices that I've been using for years and years and years and developed them and honed them so that as we were making decisions and as we were building the team and things like that, they were all heading in the direction so that everybody knew where we were on kind of that path to success or path to the destination. To make a long story short, we took this probiotic that nobody thought that we could even get into the market, let alone sell it, because it was a spore-forming probiotic. It's a bacillus, and so typically you won't see those in food and beverage because they worry about contamination. We found that ours was exceptionally safe, didn't contaminate anything, and was incredibly effective. And so 38 clinical trials later, we had a company that was doing, in north of $20 million in revenue, very profitably. And we had well over 1,000 customers or 1,000 different products in the market in about 70 countries. And it was interesting to know that we were not approved in any country when we started, and then we had approvals in all these countries when we were done. And we sold the business for more than $150 million. back in 2017 to a large Irish company, and they continue to use the same principles and the same customers. They're sticking with the ingredient, and they've continued to grow the business, and it's continuing to be a success for them. So it was successful for the employees' families, the shareholders, and the acquiring business is enjoying the fruits of our labor, and they're having success with the business they bought from us, which is the ultimate goal. You don't want to sell a business and have it fall apart. You want to make sure that you're willing to look in the eye of the buyer 5 years later and say, "See, I told you the business was strong, and you did the right thing by buying it." And but by using the guardrailing principles, it allowed us to kind of build the team and do well.
Well, I love that you talk a lot about doing the right thing, making good decisions, and this real values-based kind of focus to the whole company, from the business plan to the culture. And I know this is the work you do as well, consulting with companies. So can you talk a little bit about your work and maybe what are some of I love the road trip analogy you use, and the roadblocks, the obstacles in the way. And so maybe you could talk about, the kind of clients that would come to you. What are the common roadblocks and how do you help them overcome them?
So I'm the founder of a consulting firm called Growthways Partners, and we work primarily with venture capital or private equity backed companies, some privately owned companies, but primarily investor backed somehow. And it may be a family foundation or something like that. But we work with them to help build value plans, and how do we generate the most value out of whatever the business is, whether it's a ingredient business or a CPG business. It's really taking a look at what is their destination, because it's often the investors may have a plan for a business, or they have an expected return, but a lot of times that's not shared with anybody but maybe the founders. If then, sometimes you'll find a founder and you'll ask them, what do your investors expect? And they'll say, I know that they want to get they want to get a return. I'm not exactly sure what return they're expecting, which is something that you should pretty much know right from the get-go. But it's surprising. And so we do a lot of work with companies to set that strategy. And now we're doing the guardrailing workshops, which are super fun. We'll go in and we'll talk to them about, where are you now? Where do you see yourself in the future? And we'll actually do the destination exercise. We'll say, in some cases, we'll just talk about value generation at a certain point. In other cases, we'll say, your goal is to sell your company in 5 years for X number of dollars. And then you will develop a list of potential buyers. So whether they're strategic buyers, competitors, big multinational strategics, private equity firms, maybe they're going to, have somebody come in and take out some of the existing investors. But in all cases, we'll sit down, we'll say, who are those? We'll name them. We'll say company ABC, a venture capital firm or private equity firm, C, D, and E. And so then we kind of can look at what are the things that those companies value in businesses that they buy. And so it lets you back your way into, for example, if you say, I want to sell my business for $50 million in 5 years, and you're in a business where they're selling businesses on average of, let's call it 10 times EBITDA, we know that we need to be generating $5 million in EBITDA at a period in time in order to have a sale price of that 50 million. It seems kind of simple to think of it that way, but it's shocking to me the number of companies that haven't really thought that far out, and their strategic vision doesn't match up with some of these things. Sometimes you'll see, and I've had clients where they know the destination, or they think they know the destination. You'll say, what's your destination? And they say, easy. We want to sell this business for $1 billion in 6 years. And you do the math and you say, has anybody ever done this in your industry before? Not that that's going to stop you. But can you get your sales up that fast? Can you be that profitable that fast? What's it going to take? And so sometimes you find out that really the goal is to sell the business for a fraction of that, and it makes the work seem a lot more realistic and more, it's more simple to build that roadmap. And so the decisions along the way are far more simple because it allows you to kind of put those guardrails around what your decisions are. It also helps inform. For example, I had a client I just did a workshop with recently, and they were considering building a manufacturing facility, and we looked at the companies in the country that could manufacture their products for them without them spending one penny in capital equipment to build out their own facility. And it turned out there was tons of extra capacity in our country to get things done for them. So they didn't have to invest the 30 to $70 million it would have cost them to build a manufacturing facility. It just wouldn't have created value that was worth paying for a potential acquirer, because there's already existing manufacturing capacity. So why build more? And it turns out that the entrepreneur always dreamed of owning a manufacturing facility. And so that's great, but it doesn't add value. So as I suggested to them, maybe they hold that dream for the next company. Or when they sell their company, they stick with it, and then they work on building manufacturing assets. But if it doesn't build value, don't do it. And it was an eye opener for them, but it was for me, it was kind of satisfying, because it was like, use the principles of the book and use the principles of guardrailing and build your plan out. And as long as you can ask those simple questions every step of the way, which most of the questions have binary answers, they're either yes or no. It makes it far more simple to make important decisions in your business, because you've got the clear vision ahead of you.
And I know you're talking a lot about value as in, dollars and sales, but there's also this core principle that you have about good decisions and the values of your company based on doing good. And I think building a culture, that's part of your expertise as well. You talk about, the team building aspects of bringing on team members who are aligned with your company's values. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. One of the things I've always done for years and years, even prior to the last company, whenever we would hire new people, I would always let them know, even during the interview process, that, here's what our company does. And ultimately, this company will be sold. We're venture capital backed, or we're owned primarily by a private equity firm, and they want a return on their investment. So someday we're gonna sell this company. I always made sure that we had incentives in place and aligned with that, so that the employees of the company and everybody on the team benefited by the sale of the company. And I would tell them during their interview, one of two things may happen to you. One, your position will be redundant, and the company that buys us will not need you, and you will lose your job. But you will have a severance, and you will have equity in our business, and you will be part of the success story. Or they're going to need you, which we hope that we've designed the team well enough that there's not a lot of redundancy, and that there's not a lot of people that can be replaced. That's a good decision. It's something that you need to think about when you're hiring people, which is, does this extra position that I need to hire for or want to hire for, is this a person that's going to add value to the business? Is it going to be somebody who's just going to be along for the ride until the company is sold? Or is it somebody that's going to be overhead that you shouldn't bring on at all, because it's going to affect your profitability? It's going to be somebody who will definitely lose their job, which hiring somebody and knowing they're definitely going to lose their job at some point in the future isn't a good decision, if you know that for sure. And so you build out the team, you inform everybody, and then everybody's part of the same goal, and incentive packages, financially and otherwise, are all aligned around that.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And the other thing that I remember about your book is that, somebody who is like, I think of your book as a playbook, right? Like that's how I see it, kind of as like somebody who's really, fond of the natural products industry and the values that industry brings. and wants to be a part of it, but yet isn't sure how to, dip their toe in or have the whole vision figured out. So is that the kind of client who, who are your ideal clients, or why do they come to you? Who should read your book, and why would they want to hire you as a consultant? I guess.
As far as reading the book, I think it's kind of a good 101 book for anybody that's in any sort of leadership or growth or strategic planning position in any type of company. Like I said, it's geared more towards companies that are investor backed, but if you own a family-owned business, you can use these same principles and say, okay, well, I want to have this business support the largest number of family members possible. So we'll run it in accordance to these particular destination and values, and we'll make decisions accordingly. My clients are typically people who have started a business or are starting a business. Typically, they've gotten things up and running, but they're having trouble figuring out, what's the best way to market? What's the best way to build value in this business? Are we doing things the right way? Are we running the business the right way? Is there a way to do things differently so that we can do more with less? Create value, create profits for the business, while at the same time making sure that whatever it is they do is important to not only them from a business perspective, but to society. So is the ingredient or the product that they're putting out, is it needed? Is it something that's good for you and not going to cause harm? Is it going to not I'm not really particularly fond of working with companies that are making one-time use disposable plastic items. And so it's one of those things where you look at all those decisions and you can say, yeah, this is a business that's perfect, especially in the natural products industry, where there's a litmus test of authenticity that's at the core of that industry. And even though some large participants have entered the market over the years, they typically are led by the right things because their consumers are telling them, we want less waste, we want more sustainability, we want more disclosure, and so I think that regardless of the type of company, the principles in the book and the industry, the principles in the book carry forward and have something to offer for everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Well, will you let us know how somebody can contact you and reach out to you? Again, your book is called Guard-Railing, Authentically Guide Your Natural Products Company from Spark to Sale. And even if you're not in the natural products industry, there's wonderful practical tips in there for you starting a business and looking at the destination of sale. So how can our listeners find you?
So my website's growthways.com. You can email me directly at mike@growthways.com. I'm on LinkedIn, all the various socials, and the book's available on Amazon and elsewhere, Kindle and print editions. And so feel free to reach out to me to figure out if this is appropriate for your business and how I might be able to help you. The nice thing about the book is it's about servitude, and that's what I do. I'm a helper. I like helping people, and it's a way to kind of expand my offering by kind of putting out some of that information out there to instill these core concepts in people's minds.
I think that's what sets your book apart. You have a heart of service, Mike. It's not all about the sale. It's not all about the numbers or the return on investment. There's heart, there's value, there's mindfulness. And I'm so excited your book's in the world. So congratulations and thanks so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you.